He's the section manager for the drinking water special functions section, where, among other things, he's responsible for public notice and boil water notice compliance and tracking. Stephen has worked in the water supply division for 15 years. He has held various positions, including special assistant, team leader, work leader, and compliance officer. He has experience in chemical, microbial, surface water treatment, and right-to-know compliance programs, water system data management, and managing data projects. Stephen studied environmental policy at Calvin College and natural resources management at Virginia Tech. Prior to joining TCEQ, Stephen lived and worked in Central America for almost 10 years. Please welcome Stephen Schuringa.
So I'm just going to go ahead and apologize from the get-go. Mike Howell, I don't know if y'all, not Mike Howell, Mike Howell, just retired. So I'm trying to fill in for him on his presentation, and Christine Krieg, who is going to do the public notice part, was unfortunately feeling ill today, and so I get to do both parts, and right after lunch. So here's for a great presentation. If you guys fall asleep, don't worry, I won't call you out, all right? All right, so here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to do an overview of our public notice, start with some background. We're going to do the consumer notification web page update. So we've added an additional consumer notification page. And we are also doing, we're going to talk about public notice and the certificate of delivery templates, the 2026 requirements for CCR and LCR. So the CCR requirements are the 2026 requirements, but they're not due until July of 2027. So we got time on that one. And then we're talking a little bit about boil water notice, immediate notification, and loss of pressure and flow. So, all right, so why are public notices important? Everybody in this room should know that, right? We want to make sure that our customers know what's going on with their water, right? And we want to make sure that they're well informed. So when something goes wrong, we want to be able to say, you know, this is what went wrong and what they need to do and what y'all are doing to fix the problem, or what you already did to fix the problem, right? That's the ideal, right? You get to tell them, hey, there was a problem, but we took care of it. Aren't we awesome? Primarily, we're talking about making sure that your customers are aware of what's going on. So the notification process is pretty straightforward, and we've got a couple slides here. There are specific timelines for the different types of violations, and so you need to make sure that you're meeting those timelines. You're describing what the violation was, and if there's some potential health effect for them, that they would be aware of that health effect. When we made it easy for y'all, at least tried to make it easy for y'all, by creating templates that include all the required mandatory language. And we're trying to make it still easier. We've made some upgrades to those things and want to make sure that you guys are aware of them today. And then once you've done your notice, you need to do the certificate of delivery. And that seems to kind of trip folks up. The certificate of delivery is basically, hey, I did this notice. We're sending that to you guys within 10 days. It's not, it's not super difficult, but I think it kind of gets lost in all the details. And that's where people get, they end up getting a violation because they didn't tell us that they did it, but they've done it. So we need to make sure that you guys are doing those certificates of delivery. We tried to make it easy for you by putting that QR code. So everybody, get your cameras out, take pictures. So we want you guys to be able to get to those. And then if you got some questions, go ahead and give our Right to Know group a call. We started a new phone tree system. So if you call this 512-239-1069, that will put you into what we call the pod for all of our Right to Know folks. And all of our Right to Know folks have been cross-trained, and so they should be able to answer any of your questions related to public notice, CCR, lead and copper notices, and boil water notices. This is the essential slide in this whole presentation, is how to ace your public notice. Use the templates. Don't take out any of the mandatory language in the templates, and then add the specific information that's in the template that, there's a space for it in the templates. We've made the templates, for a long time we've been adding those templates to like if you get a violation letter, it's kind of tacked onto the back of that violation letter, and then people kind of write stuff in or they don't write stuff in, or they write it in a way that's not legible. So what we're doing now, or beginning to do, is use QR codes. So the letter will have a QR code that will take you to the public notice that you need to do, and it will be in a form that's easier for you guys to just type the information in, right? And then it looks a little more professional. It doesn't have all the, TCEQ says write this here, those kinds of things. So it'll look a little bit nicer for y'all to be able to just fill out and send out to your customers. And then, of course, you got to make sure that you send that COD in and that you've got all those boxes checked and that you've signed it. We're also now taking them as email, so please just email them. It's so much easier. If you got to take a picture of it and email the picture, we've taken those. It's okay. We just need to make sure that we get it. So that's a big change. If you had talked to us 5 years ago, we've been like, no, send it on a piece of paper, wet signature. We are going to look at this thing under a microscope and make sure that it's been signed by the person that's signed it. Then COVID happened, and we're like, yep, there's some easier, better ways to do this, and so we're going to try and do that. So that's what we've done. And I'm sure that there's still easier and better ways to do it. And so I'm very much interested in hearing your suggestions when I'm done. So we've also created a new, what we're calling consumer notification webpage, because there's been this kind of proliferation of additional notices that y'all have to do, especially related to lead and copper rule. And so just trying to make sure that all that stuff is getting captured. So the QR code, which are the ones that I put in, that one will take you to this consumer notification page. You can see a really small print there. It says notification process, public notice, boil water notices, lead-related notices. So it covers all of those things, and just click on it, and it'll take you down to where you need to go. So here's some of the new public notice templates. What we did was we created a general MCL template, and then where we looked at what were our most frequent violations or the things that were kind of acute things, we wanted to make sure that you guys had a good template to use, and we created these specific templates for y'all to use. There are other violations that, once in a blue moon, y'all run up against, and it's like, okay, call us, we'll help you. If you get some weird, SOC violation that you've never had before, call us. We'll help you figure it out. If you can't figure it out yourself on this new site, because it should be easier now. So here's a look at what the new template will look like. This is, like I said, we're trying to really get this streamlined so it's easier for y'all. So you'd only have to put in what was the actual MCL compliance value that will be on your letter, and then what the monitoring period was for that, which will also be on your letter. And then you need to put in there a blurb about, what are y'all doing? Now, if it's a TTHM violation, it might be, we're doing some more sampling to figure out what the heck's going on, or we're talking to, our consultants to figure out how to resolve this situation. Or it could be, we put in a new whatever, and it's going to be online next month, and so these hopefully will all be gone. Right? You can write in there what y'all need to write in there. What you can't do is write in there something that's kind of takes away from the meaning of the notice itself, right? So you can't be like, TCQ, those guys, they're a bunch of jerks, and they're making me do this. So, so here you go. We don't want you to do that. Well, you shouldn't do that anyway. It's not very nice, but also just because then you'll get a violation for not having done it correctly. So then we put in your contact information, the phone number, the email. It's not our contact information. A lot of you guys do that. You're like, call TCQ. They know about these violations. Don't do that. They're supposed to call you. Because then we'll tell them, like, oh, those guys are a bunch of jerks. They don't do what they're supposed to do. No, I'm just kidding. We would never do that publicly. So just phone number, email, where they can get a hold of you, right? We want our customers to be informed, and some of them might have more questions, right? And so we want them to be able to call y'all. I know it's hard sometimes because our customers don't always know the deep technical details that you all know, right? But they need it to be explained to them in a way that will make it so that they do understand it. And there's nobody better to do that than you all. So put your numbers down there. Put someone on there that can actually answer the questions. If you put the city secretary on there, that's putting her in a hard spot or him in a hard spot, right? You need to put someone on there that can actually answer, like, oh, this is what's going on, this is what's being done, or can go and find the answer for your customers. So, and then you need the date on there. So it's kind of all the same stuff that you got to do now. It's just in a little bit different format, and hopefully a little bit easier for y'all to just pop in the numbers and send it out and be done. So you need to submit the PN and the COD. That's right. Like 5 minutes into this thing, and I've said submit the COD how many times? Got to be at least 5 times. So it's important. Please do that. Make sure the COD is all filled out, and you can send it to PWS Notice. You can send it to PWSPN, which is kind of the old email address that we used to use. It's in all of our publications. If you send it to that one, it just gets forwarded over to our PWS Notice. We're trying to get all of our notices into one mailbox. So you could even send it to PWS BWN and still get into the same mailbox. Probably would be better just to send it to notice box. Then again, certificate of delivery. I think this is probably the 6th time now. You got to fill out the certificate of delivery. You got to get the name in it, the ID. That's the thing that seems to trip folks up too. Is we got lots of different public water systems. I think it's like 7,200 at least now. It's a big number, and some of them have very similar names. So if you just give us your name, we might be able to figure it out. But we would much rather you give us the name and the PWS ID and make sure that we can put that checkbox next to your name. Yep, they did it. Good. Move on. So delivery methods for community, direct delivery. It can be in your water bill, separate mailing, door hangers, or hand delivery. If you're a small enough community, I don't think you got a lot of people you don't want to walk around. You can do electronic delivery. You can also do secondary methods with the continuous posting. You can put it on the internet. A lot of folks are trying to get stuff out onto social media. That's not an official way, but we encourage it because it's communication, right? Social media is a little bit difficult because sometimes it gets out of your control, right? You put something out there and people run with it, and so just be cautious with it. But it is an effective way. And I know, like I live in Round Rock up here, and I get notices from the city of Round Rock in my Facebook feed. I'm like, oh, there's been another accident, or the city police are doing something, or there's some event going on, right? I really rely on that for getting information. So it is a good way to do it, but it's not one of our official ways. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the lead and copper rule revisions and some of the notice requirements for that. I mentioned at the top of this thing, we got a new website. These are some of the things that are in that website that covers those notification requirements. So we just had the end of a compliance period. We had action level exceedances that folks had to do. We only had 3 systems. We had some water systems really step up and get that done very quickly. You have 24 hours to do the notice. You should be watching your lead and copper samples as they come in and looking to figure out what your 90th percentile is. On our website, when it's in there, it should calculate it. So on the Drinking Water Watch, and I believe it will also be in the Drinking Water Viewer, where you can go and see it. So go look. If you're doing the sampling, go look, because you want to know as soon as possible, right? That way you can get ready. You can get the funds ready. You can get your messaging ready. You can do all that stuff, because we're not going to tell you have to do it until the end of the monitoring period, so that we are allowing for the maximum amount of time for y'all to prepare. It's not just for that, but that's the way the rules are working right now. So 24 hours to tier 1 notice, which means you got to move fast. So best to have those things lined up right away. So if you're an action level exceeder, you should know that is something that's going to impact you in your next sampling round, right? So lead consumer notice. So this must be delivered or posted within 30 days of receiving the tap sample. So you need to get those out to folks. And what else you need to do? You got to submit the COD to us so that we know that you did it. And we have a template in English and Spanish, and you need to, again, notify us that you've completed the notice. And then there's the service line inventory consumer notice. So that's different than the LCN. That notice, it's kind of similar in that it's going to the individuals that have that particular, if it's, what did she call it, Gurlaroos? Michelle's in the back of the room, she just grimaced. With the galvanized requiring replacement, the lead, and unknown, thank you. So those need to be done by July 1st. We will be doing compliance on this. So if you haven't done it, do it and get it to us, because that's coming. The lead inventory treatment technique. So that is basically you have submitted to us your lead service line inventory. And if you haven't, I think we've actually already gotten all the violations out for those. So if you've gotten a violation, this is a treatment technique violation. You need to submit to us your lead service line inventory. And that team is doing a lot of outreach to help and get folks into compliance with that. If you've got questions about it, talk to me afterwards, and I can get you connected to the right folks to do that. Along with that, you've got to notify people of where it's available. And so you can do that in your CCR. It's a statement that just says basically, hey, this is available. Most of you guys probably already did this. And so we want you guys to make sure that you're communicating, like, this is our inventory, and this is where you can find the information about your system or your home. All right, CCR rule revisions. Again, I said at the top of this, these are revisions that you will have to implement in 2027. We are working on identifying a tool that will help with this and have all everything that you need, since we're shifting away from Drinking Water Watch and the CCR generator. We'll have another tool available to help you all. So these are the 2026 rule revisions that are applicable in 2027, right? So that means on your CCR that you deliver in July of 2027, that you've got all these things included. So it's the biennial delivery for systems over 10,000 customers. So you have to do it twice a year. There's still a question out there about what does that mean in terms of content, and we're working with our EPA partners to figure out exactly how we're going to do that. The new reporting requirements, I'm just going to glaze over these quick. I got a couple more slides. New reporting requirements are for 10,000, 50,000, and 100,000 populations. Talk about those in a minute. And then you can include your summary information in your CCR. And then there's some new definitions, some new health language that's going to be required. But that will be in the template that will help you all do those things. So the additional lead requirements and lead service line inventory, accessibility instructions, so like where to go and find the information. So all the things that you guys did this year in your CCR, you're just going to carry that forward, and you're going to do it again for your 2026, right? So you're reporting 2025 data in 2026, right? So all the things that you did this year, you just do it again next year, and then for the 2027 year, that's when you'll be reporting some of this new stuff. It's a little bit confusing with the dates, so just trying to be as clear as I can be on that. Here's some information, like just some of the new CCR requirements and objectives. And if you scan this code, this takes you to an EPA document that's just like a quick, like this is an explanation of the rule and the requirements, which are even more highly summarized here. So it's going to improve the frequency of delivery and updating delivery methods. And we're lowered online posting threshold. So basically, I think it was 100,000, that if you have 100,000 or more, you have to post it online. If you have less than that, you don't. It's moving down to 10,000. So that's going to be a challenge for systems, I think. Improving the readability and understandability, make it easier to understand, and then also the clarity of the document. I think one of the templates that we've been looking at, I think will really actually help with this. I know that we every year we get lots and lots of questions about the CCR and what does this mean, and having some of this additional language will help you with the number of calls you're getting from your customer and helping you to explain what's going on. Now, a lot of you guys do like an A+ job on those CCRs, and it's like this beautiful, magnificent document. Some of you do like a calendar, and it's like, oh, I'll put that up in my office. I love it. It's really cool. And I would encourage you guys, because remember, all of this public notice stuff, what is this about? It's about communication. It's about communicating what's going on in our public water systems to the operators, right? Or to the, you guys are the operators, you know what's going on, to the public, right? And helping them to understand, like, this is really hard, and here's what we're doing, and this is why it's important. And the better you guys do that, the easier it's going to be. And I know it's hard to get that ball rolling because, you know, if I risk it and do a really nice CCR this year, then I'm going to have to do it every year. And what if like my mayor doesn't like it or whoever? And it is kind of hard to break out of that. But I do think it's a time for you guys to think about, like, how do we communicate what's going on? And it's, you know, it's all the violations, it's all the data, that kind of stuff, but it's also a great opportunity for you guys to talk about, you know, these are the plans that we have. This treatment thing is going to change. We're going to do this. We're going to, you know, we hired a new utilities director. Here's her picture, right? You know, those kinds of things that help people to understand what's going on in your community, what's going on with your water. And so I would encourage you guys to look at this as an opportunity. So for 100,000, it's the language access plan. So, you know, it's basically putting your CCR out in multiple languages and making it accessible to folks in multiple languages in your community. Again, that limited English proficiency support and trying to get those things out. The 50,000 population e-posting, so being able to post it on your website, make it available to folks that way, and then the 10,000 population increase the reporting with the biennial instead of annual. And I think that's going to be probably the biggest challenge, right? The biggest expense is, you know, if you got to mail that thing out, it's going to be expensive, and even getting it generated. And so, starting to think about like how do we make this available? You know, can you put it on your website? Great, go put it on your website, and you know, stick it in your bill and let them know like you can go find it right here, right? Those kinds of things will make it a little bit more tenable to get it out to your customers, because we do know it does cost a lot of money. It takes a lot of effort to get things out, you know, mailed directly to your customer, even included in your bills, right? So we know those challenges. We definitely want to hear more about what you guys think about this too. And as we move to implement the new rule, we'll be talking with you guys more, because we definitely need your feedback and want to understand kind of how things will work for y'all. All right, so immediate notification. So if you're going to do a boil water notice, or a do not use, or do not consume, or a do not whatever, then you need to do this immediate notification. This link in the QR code takes you directly to that form. It's you know, I don't know, 10 questions. It's not very many things that you have to add into there. And it's really quick and easy, and boom, you're done. This is not notifying TCQ like us that you have a boil water notice going on. You still have to do all the other stuff that I talked about with the boil water, or I'm going to talk about with the boil water notice. So you still have to do that notification to us. This is the immediate notification. This is a form that sends stuff to TDEM that says, hey, these things are going on. And so you may get some follow-up with TDEM, you know, find out whether or not you need something or not. So I think they're working on kind of dialing in what their threshold is on giving you all a call. But that's how that information is being used. We're not using it for anything related to your boil water notice compliance. So do your boil water notice, send it to the PWS notice mailbox. When you've rescinded, send it to the rescission to the PWS notice mailbox. And of course, what else do you have to do? COD. All right, you guys know. I'm not going to do it anymore. So I just wanted to share a little bit about PWNs. And first of all, you guys heard Mason in the opening session say that Sean Abels is his map maker. Sean, you want to stand up and be recognized for a moment? He doesn't. Sean is everybody's map maker. Sean does incredible work with GIS, and he is like our go-to guy for all of our maps, because he puts together great maps. And I literally asked him, can you throw together a map that shows all of our boil water notices from FY 2024? Sent him an Excel file, and he turned it into this. So he did a great job. And this is where all of our boil water notices are happening. In FY 24, so that's our state FY, right? That's September to August. We had 4,350 boil water notices reported to us. So the vast majority of those are the low pressure things that, you know, you have a line break or something, and it's, you know, you guys are usually handling this really quickly and easily. Occasionally the outages, you can see the rest there, the low disinfectant residual, the microbial and turbidity. Those are because you got a violation and you had to do it. You had an acute violation and you had to do this. But you see, we don't have that happen very often, right? Mostly it's because of that low distribution pressure. And also, you can see here on this other thing that it's mostly happening, well, a lot of them are happening in the localized, right? It's not It's not the whole distribution system. It's just a little area that's, you've had a problem, and so you need to fix that, and you do it, and then you've done a boil water notice for that local area, not the whole distribution system. And I think this is kind of underreporting that, because not everybody tells us it's just this area, right? And I think that you guys are reporting a whole distribution system when it's really actually just part of your distribution system that you're having this problem in. When should I issue a boil water notice? As I mentioned, if you got an acute thing going on, you better issue a boil water notice, right? You got to get out there and get it done. We will also be telling you, you got a violation, you got to go do a boil water notice. Waterborne disease outbreak, anything that's really going to be an acute risk to your customers, right? You don't want to do anything that's going to, if you don't tell them, that would create, some kind of problem for you all because you didn't tell them. You want to make sure that your customers are well informed about those kinds of things and they can take action. And then there's all these other reasons that y'all are issuing those boil water notices. And basically summarized as when, there's the potential for compromise, or it has been compromised and there's potential, but we don't actually have data that's like, yes, you have E. coli here, right? So this is us hedging our bets and making sure that we are being very communicative with our customers and making sure that they're protected. Even if we don't think that it's actually a problem, we're going to treat it like there is potentially a problem, and we're going to do the right thing. Okay, so what should my boil water notice say? Again, templates, right? We've tried to make this as easy as we can for y'all. So we've got some boil water notice templates, and so use them. Because they should have all of the information that you need. So what has to be in them? You got to get your PWS ID, your name, so we know who did it. We know which system, so your customers know which system. You get when it was issued, the reason it was issued, any required health language because there is a public health issue, and then who are the right people to contact. Again, not TCEQ. This is who to contact with y'all. If your demographics indicate like you need to communicate in another language so that you're sure that your community is understanding, you need to make sure that you put it into another language. Now, I've translated a whole bunch of things into Spanish because, believe it or not, I'm pretty good at it. But I can't do Vietnamese and any of the other very commonly spoken languages here. So you need to think about what your community is and make sure that you have that template ready to go in languages that are appropriate for your community. And if you really need help with Spanish translation, I might be able to do it. Google also, guys, Google, amazing. I use Google, and then I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that looks right. And then I call my wife, I'm like, does that look right? So that's how I do my translations. I don't know anybody that speaks Vietnamese that can verify it, though. So, all right, so delivery requirements. So for communities, these go to, copy to radio and TV in the area, publication in the local area, daily newspaper. I know like a lot of smaller systems, they don't have that. But if you have a larger paper that has distribution in your area, you can do that. And direct delivery or continuous posting, so very small systems, if you got like a centralized location where people go, like mailboxes, that kind of thing, you can put it up there. And then electronic delivery, we got a lot more systems that are using this. I think this is a really good option for you to get stuff out to your customers to make sure that they're aware. And then for the non-community, direct delivery or continuous posting, an electronic delivery or alert system is also acceptable. So if the continuous posting is used, you have to keep it in place for as long as the situation exists, or 7 days, whichever's longer. So additional posting method available. We talked a little bit about this already with the social media. People go to them. They look for stuff on Facebook or, I don't know, Instagram or Snapchat. What are the... And then, you want to make sure that it is a good, quick way to get information out to folks. But on the other side, like I said before, you do lack some elements of control, and kind of those comments go crazy, and it's hard to wrangle that sometimes. I live in the city of Round Rock, and man, those guys are really, really good at it. But they got a team of people that do, all of their social media communication, and it's funny, man. These guys are really good at it. They were out of town. So, did you see this, Michelle? They had the social media person out of town, and they took a picture of their chair, and it's like, jokes will resume when the person returns, or something like that. It was hilarious. And that kind of communication is great because your customers will really start to trust you, right? You're like, this person's out of town, but we're paying attention to this and we're thinking about you guys, right? You're not telling them anything new. You're just saying we care about you guys and we hear you. And I really recommend that you guys, not everybody can do this, right? But really recommend that you're thinking about how are we communicating and how do we maximize community trust in our communication. So what are your boil water reporting requirements? Immediate notification. That's the first thing. That was the one slide, right? You got to send that thing in. That doesn't count for your actual boil water notice, but you do need to do the immediate notification. And then you got to provide us within 24 hours a copy of your boil water notice. And then within 10 days, you got to submit the certificate of delivery. What else do you have to submit with the certificate of delivery? You have to submit your special sample, your microbial sample that shows that you're good to go off the notice, right? You got to do that. When can I lift my BWN? So to rescind it, you have to have corrected the problem, right? You can't just be like, I'm sick of doing this. You actually have to fix the problem. And then you've got to verify that you've got good, consistent disinfectant residual. You've got to return to your normal operating parameters, and you've got to do that BACT sample to prove that you actually don't have bacterial issues in your system. And then, boom, you're done. Go off the boil water notice, send us the documentation, and we're good. So you got to do your BACT sample, and here's all of the laboratories where that can do the BACT samples. So if you don't take a picture of any of the other things or get this link going, do this one, right? Because if it happens on the weekend and your regular lab isn't open, you need to be able to talk to one of these guys, right? So talk to them. And this QR code will always take you to the current list. So if a system or a laboratory drops off, it'll have, that'll be current. All right, so again, the rescinding requirements, you got to deliver the rescind notice in the same manner as you sent out the BWN. So if you did it with reverse 911, you got to do the same thing, right? You want to be consistent with your customers and make sure that they know how the information is going to come, and they're looking in the same place going, okay, are they done? Can I drink my water yet? And then you got to, again, somebody over here said PWS name and ID. You guys are really catching on. I really appreciate it. You got to include the PWS name and ID, the date rescinded, the date the BWN was originally issued, and then a statement noting that the issue causing the notice has been corrected. Like, yeah, guys, we fixed the problem. Woo. And then provide TCEQ with the rescind notice, their microbial sample results, and I'm not going to say it. Somebody else will say it. COD. All right, good. All right, so here's a couple of quick links for y'all to use. You take a picture of it, type them into your computer really fast. You can also reach out to that PWS notice mailbox or that, 1609 telephone number, and we'll help you. Right? We want you guys to be in compliance. We want to provide the information that you need. And so, if you're stuck, you don't know what you're supposed to do, you're scared you're going to get a violation, call us because we'll help you because we care about you guys and we want to make sure that you guys know what you're supposed to do and can do it quickly and easily, right? We don't want to make your lives hard. So we're more than happy to talk with you guys about those things. Awesome. I think that's our last slide. There you go. All right. Are there any questions? So he's asking if we encourage y'all to explain what's going on, and the answer is yes. It's that mandatory language can be scary, and again, you can't really say something that's like, it says that, but that's not really what we mean, right? But what you can do is explain the situation, and you can say, this is what's happening, this is what we're doing, and usually when you include that kind of stuff, it helps to settle that. And people are going to be worried, and they should be worried, right? It's like, I got to boil my water, and they're concerned about that.